From Wakefield, it's the Nolan Current Night Show, inviting you to join Nolan and his guest this week, Lee Arenberg, to the show. And now, ladies and gentlemen, here's Nolan.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the show. And I know we've been on a long break, not that I wanted to, but nevertheless, here we are. And with that being said, I have an amazing guest. But without all the other preamble, let's get into some of the stuff. Of course, if you enjoy the show, do us a favor, subscribe, comment, share, all the fun jazz. Follow on social media helps the growth of the show forever long it lasts for. It's been going strong for almost 3 years, so I guess we can still keep going forward. On another note, on to the main course of this meal, which is my guest this week. Although my guest has called home to the Golden State his entire life, he's had the good fortune of traveling the world for 40 years. When he's kidnapping poppets and mansions, living life the Al Davis way, trying to rob diners, even having parking disputes, my guest this week has done it all and then some. For the inner child in me, it's my great privilege and honor to have SMH's most cherished Viking, the one and only Mr. Lee Arenberg, on the show. Lee, how are you?
After that intro, bro, I'm a hardcore fan, man. The Al Davis shout out. Yeah, I like it, man. Great to be here, bro. Good start.
I wanted to talk about that. I know you're a big fan of the Raiders and Raider Nation, and they've had some interesting times the last few years with head coaches and all sorts of other stuff. And of course, they just got rid of why am I forgetting his name? Your head coach.
Josh
McDaniels, and they still have to pay him that heavy contract. That's
all right. He wasn't a great people person. I wish the best for Josh. We should have kept Rich Bisaccia.
Yeah.
A couple of seasons ago, it's important. The players, it's as much about X's and O's football as motivating the dudes. Yeah. And we have a coach now that motivates the dudes, and so I'm optimistic. I mean, we're in a tough division, and the great thing about being a fan is you're ride or die with your squad. So I'm always a ride or die fan. I have my teams. Man U, soccer, Raiders Nation, my Dodgers, LA Kings hockey, pretty much my ride or dies, and it keeps me going. If I wasn't an actor, this is something, I don't know if you've seen this because I have mentioned it, but my second dream job was in sports somewhere, broadcast of some sort. So I'm definitely a junkie for it, dude.
That's always good because you want to have some other things to keep you occupied when you're trying to decompress from sports. I'm curious for you in terms of the team, because you have Josh McDaniels, who did so well in New England with Bill Belichick as the offensive coordinator for so many years, and now we were able to find out what was wrong with her with Jimmy Garoppolo and Mark Davis with that horrific haircut that he has. What do you hope happens in the future in terms of a fan for head coach? And do you think Tom Brady helps that, seeing as part of the owner's circle to an extent?
TB, happy to have his influence. Definitely a winner. The guys respect him. I don't know what he'll add or subtract in terms of football to the squad. The fan base just wants a good product out there. We got to play 60 minutes. That's all we want. We work hard to buy the gear, to pay for the tickets if we're lucky enough to go. And so we're invested in it. And so make some smart moves. There's a commitment to excellence that's part of the legend of the squad and the just win baby attitude. And I'm pretty sure that the Raider Nation, that's all we want to see out of the squad. I'd give our coach a shot now, Antonio Pierce. I love his story. I love that he's the same as me, an LA Raider guy. That's when I kind of discovered it. So optimistic, but it is the Raiders. We're also myopic. So we're always ready to win the Super Bowl. It's never enough for us. We love it. The silver and black. I'm a pirate. There's so many connections to my existence. Wanting to be a pirate of the Caribbean as a kid, then becoming one. Then the year that we do the first movie, the Raiders are in the Super Bowl against the Buccaneers. It was all pirates, man. It's all pirates.
Well, when you have great players and you have great coaches and you have a great organization, there's only one more thing you need to do, and that's just win, baby. As
Right.
as I would say.
Yeah. And it's about, I'll tell you what it's about. It's about playing for the other guys next to you. It's
Sure.
about execution. I mean, it's the ultimate theater without a script.
Sure.
It's what I love about sport. I mean, the theatricality of football, like the Colosseum of Rome, the bread and circuses. It's how art, it's how storytelling fits into the society, as you're saying, as a diversion, but is also a way to take you out of where you are in the moment, connect you to community.
Yeah.
There's a lot of magic in connection in the I mean, sports is entertainment, no question.
Sure. Well, let's hope Antonio gets it signed long-term deal and doesn't get the raw deal like Steve did a few years ago. On another more different note, never mind sports, because I could talk here for hours about sports, but of course your career as a wonderful actor. I want to go as back as you want to go, as far back as the little Lee would want to, when he was doing Shakespeare and Hebrew back in California. For you, growing up, and obviously you've been in California your whole life, so you have some experience with seeing what Hollywood was like with the friends you're going to high school with. As a kid growing up, how realistic was that for your kids in your neighborhood, or was there something else that was more realistic for you?
I mean, I didn't care if it was realistic. You know, once I got the bug, I have the bug, man, and I was gonna do it.
Sure.
You know, my family not in the business.
Yeah.
And honestly, like I used to say, like if your family's not connected, you might as well be from the other side of the planet.
Yeah.
You could grow up across the street from the studio, and it's till they invite you in, it's still a 1,000,000-mile journey.
Yeah.
Okay. I started in the theater.
Sure.
And so I would say, I mean, all my high school stuff was incredible. The kids that were in the group with me to inspire me, my friendship with Emilio, helping him audition, connected through with my brother because Emilio was like a pole vaulter. My brother ran track, and he comes up to my brother, oh yeah, or somehow it came up that I was the actor.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it was a lot of just being in the right place at the right time. And then most especially in my career was when I got to UCLA as a theater major, and I started the Actors Gang. Was a founding member with Tim Robbins and Laurence Olivier's son and a bunch of my cronies from high school, and eventually Jack Black, Kyle Gass. I mean, there's a legend of the gang is really my roots. That's really the thing about the theater is when I was a kid, I didn't feel like I fit in all the time. I wore glasses. I was kind of chunky. I had an Jufro, as they call it. You know, I was a fucking weird looking dude. At best, I was kind of like a Richard Dreyfuss in The Goodbye Girl, Elton Johnny kind of dude. But I found my people.
Sure.
And then through exploring other characters and discovering just a love of the relationship between the actor and the audience. Yeah, I mean, I found my path. It was that part of it was very natural. Making it in Hollywood is still a fucking struggle.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Always a struggle for everybody.
I'm sure.
Because it's just a they call it high school with money.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. And the older you get and the longer you survive in the game, the more that everybody is a badass.
Sure.
Every single 50-year-old or guy that I go up against for a role, 40s to 60, they're talented guys. And the key is root for everyone. We're in it together. When I walk into the room, I'm either the guy or I'm not the guy.
Sure.
That frees you. Just go for it. It's my chance to show what I do. Maybe I'm not right for that part, but I'm in the mind for episode 7. You know, that's how it works.
Yeah.
So surrender expectations, surrender outcomes, surrender timelines.
Sure.
Focus on where are you at? What are you doing right now? It's all you got this moment. Right. So, but yeah, bro, it's a 1,000,000-mile journey, and seeing Emilio blow up. I mean, Robert Downey Jr., you know, these kids that are my friends.
Yeah.
fucking wild ride, and so proud of all of them, you know. And
Oh,
then of course,
sure.
Young Hollywood, when I got sort of my spot in the Young Hollywood, to see all my friends, so
Yeah.
many have still in the game, still with the thirst, still with the hunger, still with the passion for what we do. It's cool business. It's just,
Sure.
you know, it's just hard to actually get the cracks at it.
Sure.
You're right. You have to fill your day with, I mean, for me, being of service to others, my family, walking my dog. I live on a beach. I'm so grateful. I build gratitude into my daily platform. Uh, and I go from there, because otherwise you can get angry that you're just sitting
Sure.
around feeling like you're the most awesome dude, you know,
Yeah.
trap. So healthy stuff, healthy mindset, um, control only. I adopted a pretty stoic uh, philosophy, and it really suits me. Own my stuff, be responsible for my actions, surrender everything that I don't control, and only focus on what I do. And believe me, you control very little in your life,
Sure.
right? Never another person, never, not
Yeah.
for 1 second. So free that. Makes you a better dad, makes you a better hubs, makes you a better dog owner, makes you a better actor.
Sure.
And then always imagine there's a camera on you 24/7, which there is.
Yeah.
Kind of shit. So, you know, then eventually maybe you can be happy for a second and know why you are.
Yeah.
And that's very important right now with the modern life. Is it's a challenge
Sure.
to stay available and vulnerable as an artist while waiting for the phone to ring, waiting
Sure.
for the next opportunity.
Well, I wanted to talk about, after you went to UCLA, after you started that group and you were with these guys who you practically were with since they were had pimples on their back. In throughout the late 80s and into the early 90s, after you worked with Tim Robbins and John Cusack on Tape Heads, you were part of a lot of, or I should say, a lot of successful television shows and some movies that had a lot of weight in society. Of course, Star Trek, Seinfeld, some other projects as well. Getting to be a part of that, even though theater was your first and main love, being part of that aspect of acting.
No. I never said that. Actually, I always wanted to be in film and
Yeah.
TV.
Well, so in
Always.
TV, then, how was that being part of those things early on in your career?
Oh God, incredible. I mean, I needed that to survive,
Sure.
right? So I got taught real early on when I was just getting out of school, and that I was selling computers. I was
Yeah.
selling computers actually with Tim's brother, Dave.
Okay.
We were selling some of the first homemade office systems. I was like a computer hardware dude, you know?
Yeah.
And I did a play, and then Kate Mulgrew, the actress who was then married to a theater director called Robert Egan, great director. They saw our show, and we were at the bar after a performance,
Sure.
and she told me I needed to quit my job the next day and go for it. That's kind of what it took
Yeah.
to put yourself out there with no safety net,
Yeah.
you know? And basically that was summer of 86, I want to say. And then I got my first professional job, which was on the stage in
Ghetto.
Ghetto. And then in 87, just the January, is when Tim and John got Tape Heads going.
Yeah.
And they basically coerced the producer, Pete McCarthy, to give me what was known as a Taft-Hartley, which is a waiver, because in those days you couldn't act in a SAG movie without being in SAG.
Sure.
And you couldn't get a SAG card without being in a SAG movie.
Sure.
So there was this catch-22
Yeah.
where someone had to pay like $500, which was
Oh, wow.
not cheap, a producer to work with this new talent.
Okay.
And so, yeah, you know, thanks be, and a lot of gratitude to Tim and Johnny for, I mean, I played Norton. It was a great,
Yeah.
perfect part for me or whatever, but it was my entree into into film. And then I ended up getting a movie called The Underachievers, which came out as Night School, and Cross My Heart, a Universal movie,
Yeah.
all in the same like week.
Yeah.
I mean, so that was pretty heady stuff. And then September of 87, I landed Perfect Strangers, which was
Right.
my first TV gig. And yeah, Cami Patton. I love my casting director friends, and let's give a shout out to them as well. They have a tough job seeing the
Sure.
talent, finding the right, that is Gore Verbinski on Pirates said 90% of his job is casting the right person in the right spot.
Sure.
And I think, I know Scorsese will say something like that, but good directors know that once they put the right actor in the right role, they don't have to worry about that.
Sure.
We're professionals. We come prepared. We're going to come with ideas. Hopefully, too, like I really believe in terms of technique as acting, it's like a whatever works.
Sure.
There's times you got to use your method. You should train in all of it and be able to go there depending on who you're working with.
Sure.
Sometimes it's fun to go deep like that. Sometimes it's not necessarily the smartest way.
Yeah.
You want to stay locked in and as Pintel
Yeah.
all day.
Yeah.
You want to drop into that guy
Sure.
and become him, yeah?
Yeah.
Put in the old fucking teeth and throw in the eyeballs and then layer on the old accent, And that's the challenge, because you got to kind of go step by step by step. And the final thing, the proof is just I could just stand there and be him with all the great artistry of the makeup and costumes and special effects guys. But can you be funny when they go action and you're standing next to Johnny, legendary fucking Depp, and Keira Knightley, who will blow you off the screen with her, shot of her finger.
Yeah.
You gotta lock in.
Well, you certainly have been funny. In 10 years before first Pirates, you were in a little film called RoboCop 3, which is celebrating its 30th anniversary this year. And I like your scene in there where you're coming in, attempting to be guns ablazing into the 24-hour diner.
I'm this fucking guy ever.
And then you turn around, and then there's about 40 cops who have their Desert Eagles on you. Whether it's a moment like that, where you're only in the movie for a little bit, or you're in parts of the Caribbean where you're part of the supporting cast, how much of you as an actor are you looking to try to put your own spin on a character in a comedic sense, or do you mainly try to stick to the script and what the director wants you to do?
Always that first, always that. But within that framework, I try to steal every scene.
Sure.
There with the script process, it's really important to respect the process.
Yeah.
Sometimes they'll ask me to. Sometimes they'll they won't call cut. That's their cue to keep jamming.
Yeah.
But no. I firmly believe in trying to be letter perfect with the script. And then go from there.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's important to give the respect where the respect is due. Now within that framework, anything goes, right?
Sure. Mm-hmm. In terms of, 10 years after, as I said, you were part of a little known trilogy of films that only made about $5 or $6 billion in total.
Yeah, and still
beyond the of course the main cast of Johnny and Keira and Orlando and Jeffrey Rush. At what point in your own process through the filming of that first one did you realize that there was something here, not just within the film's initial success, but then potentially for something after that?
I actually knew we were onto something really good while we were filming it. I didn't know what it was exactly, but there was a vibe on it that just felt good. Sure. Hard to describe, right? And I think a lot of it had to do with Gore directing The Ring.
Okay.
That came out after we had been shooting for about a month.
Okay.
And then suddenly the studio and all the money people and everyone was like, whoa, this guy just delivered a #1 film for weeks and weeks, right? And that then suddenly the producers he had that much more leverage to tell it.
Sure.
I really feel that was a big moment for the production. And then obviously Johnny doing what's only happened in the history of Hollywood a few times.
Yeah.
Creating a character that, I mean, it's compared to Chaplin's Little Tramp. I would compare it to, God, there's not many I can even think of. Maybe a John Wayne.
Yeah.
Of John Wayne. But we overuse the word iconic.
Yeah.
In my mind. But if we want to go back to the Oxford definition of it, fucking Captain Jack nailed it. Exactly. He was 2 steps ahead, man. It's just what it said about pirates, what it said about nonconformist in a conforming world, what it said about what is art.
Sure.
He nailed it, dude. And honestly, when we first saw Captain Jack as the Black Pearl crew, we're like, what the fuck? What are you doing? You know, I didn't know the choice. No one knew until we saw the whole movie come together.
Sure.
So I guess to answer your question, the big reveal that there was more in it happened when the audience got a look at it.
Sure.
It's about that, man. It's always I like to call myself a shoemaker. It's Screen Actors Guild. It's not a union.
Sure.
We're a guild of craftspeople. Okay. So I find it helpful in my mind that I'm a shoemaker.
Sure.
It's a humble profession, but a very important one because you want nice shoes. And sometimes you want
exactly.
But you always want shoes that protect yourself, protect your feet, and think about you. And there's a lot of nurturing in the art of storytelling for the audience, you know, and it's important in our relationship of actor to audience that it nurtures, it enlightens, it transforms, takes you away from your daily existence into the world of whatever the story is, provides catharsis at the best. Right. So when the audience gets it, I mean, remember this, bro, there were no tie-ins. There were no toys on Pirates 1, Curse of the Black Pearl. The McDonald's ad with Johnny smiling came months after. It was the first movie and the only one that I've been involved in that stayed in theaters for a year.
Oh, wow.
First run. That changed the movie business. Not only, I mean, for so many things, for CGI, changed the world. For what we think of pirates forever, and pirate people, and the pirate fans, and the people that dress up for charity as pirates, changed that forever. They're accepted. They're part of it. We'll always remember that character. And, you know, ultimately, it changed the movie theaters.
Sure.
Because for Dead Man's Chest, that movie was the first movie where it started playing in multiple screens.
Oh, wow.
In the multiplexes. Before that didn't exist. You'd have maybe a four theaters or a 3, not a 10 or 12 like now, and it would be one movie in each. But Pirates ran that 2 hours 45, which cost the theater owner an extra showing. They always want it 90 minutes. They can sneak maybe an extra or 2 screenings in, right? So the compensation and the change of that for the industry now is when you go see an MCU or a release, it's on 5 different screens in a multiplex. So they get their showings. It's cut out a lot of indie stuff, and it's cut out a lot of other opportunities for filmmakers to get their theaters in the actual, you know, cinema, if you will. So there's my lecture on that. Fuck.
And that, I think it was in the third one, which is one of my favorite, not just Pirates of the Caribbean films, but one of my favorite films of all time. There's a scene where Jeffrey, Kira, and Johnny, and I believe Mr. Gibbs are all fighting, have guns pointing at each other, and there's wet powder, and they all walk away, and you and Mackenzie, then you say we can still use them as clubs, and just a lot of comedic elements in the movies. Of course, dressing up as a lady in the first one when you're all skeletons. For you as an actor, when you're able to change the mood of a film with comedic elements, regardless of who the all-star cast is that one of the moments that you think, oh, I'm glad I'm in this profession because I'm able to have this type of aspect in a film?
I mean, that's editing, right? Yeah. I mean, that's a whole team sport. It's a team sport in the moments like that. My job is to deliver something to the editor that will be and work in that exact way. And that starts with good writing. It's the rhythm of how the scene plays. It's the rhythm of how the camera is going to move, what size we're in.
Sure.
I'm always going to deliver. That's my job. Yeah. That's what I love. I do that for free.
Yeah.
As an actor, you pay me for the waiting. You pay me for leaving my family. You pay that. The acting part, we do for free.
Sure.
And then when you have that attitude of when they call your number, that's why I love sport, man. I'm a third down back sometimes as a punt returner. I'm a nickel DB on the as a character actor, but we're important.
Exactly
the color. I love art. In a painting, sometimes that color is a primary, bold part of the painting. Sometimes it's just an accent.
Sure.
So whether you're in there for this much or you've got a chunky contribution, you got to give it your best.
Sure.
That's the game. Don't say yes to the gig if you're not going to do that.
Yeah.
And don't show up with a shit attitude.
Exactly.
Right? It only happened to me one time, and a security guard corrected me, my attitude at Paramount Studios about 4 a.m, day 5 or 6, heading in for a Star Trek makeup. I'd partied too hard. I was still a little like not enough sleep. And and I was friends with this guy, and I show up and he's like, how you doing? And I was like that. And he goes, no. And he's like, dude, right? And I'll trade places with any of these guys. We all have the dream. And I was just like, oh, thank you. I mean, honestly, what a great moment in my career, because it was just like, don't want to be a fucking ungrateful in any of it, right? In terms of manifesting it too, Yeah.
Well, it's a gift, and not too many people can achieve what you've been able to do. So it's always great. The At World's End, the third one, came out in 2007. For you as an actor, of course, we want to be in successful roles for as long as we can. But for you, how much of a bookend was it to the story for you and your character in that sequence of films?
Oh, I mean, it was that. I mean, it's fun. If it's all I got out of it in terms of 1, 2, and 3, it bookends pretty good.
Yeah.
Personally, I would love to be in, keep making them if it's timing and availability and Mackenzie's in and whatever, be fun. But oh my God, yeah, no regrets. I think the goodbye pop it and the whole thing. I mean, it's beautiful. Good storytelling and I mean, Ted and Terry, and really was just great fun for bubblegum popcorn movie. There was so many. One of my favorite stories about the Pirates adventure was on the third movie, sitting on a beach, I guess Dominica, as they're walking. The pirates there's a parade of the Chinese pirates, the South Fang guys with Barbosa, and they're all just marching down the beach, looking all with parrots, and it was a big shot. But I'm sitting in the pop-up tent with a little coffee with Mackenzie and Ted and Terry and Johnny's driver, Buck. And I guess it was Ted, Elliot. Oh, no. Somebody goes, one of the guys goes, this scene reminds me of the Wild Bunch. I think it was Buck. He just threw it out there. It reminds me of the Wild Bunch. And then Ted and Terry go, oh, wow, it's funny you say that, because we based it on the Wild Bunch.
Yeah.
He nailed it, right? He goes,
Yeah.
oh, Buck goes, yeah, I wrote the Wild Bunch.
Oh.
And I was in that movie, and they go, you what? Bullshit. They go,
Yeah.
bullshit. I go, no. I get residuals all the time. No, it's true story. Tells us about it. It was amazing because Buck's a badass. Johnny's driving, the coolest dude, 70 something, right? At that moment, he had a stack of mail in his lap from home because we'd been overseas for a couple months, and they're all back and forth. We don't believe you, Buck. You're full of shit, whatever, right? Oh, look, SAG residual. Opens it. First envelope in his lap. Residual for the Wild Bunch. The look on Ted and Terry, and just the look was just like, you know, it was just one of those moments where things just come together in perfectly syncopated ways, you know, that it's alignment, that story, the bullshit, not believing it, kind of not believing it either. It sounded fantastic. And then the residual check, and then everyone's jaws dropping.
Well, I'm sure for those 3 films, for you, and maybe it's different for others, I don't know, but for you, maybe in just in this conversation, to have not just those 2 guys, Terry and I'm blanking on the other writers, Ted and Terry, and then to have Gore on those 3 films, the 3 most successful ones, in my opinion, is a reassuring feeling for you as an actor, whether it be after those ended in 2007 to now. How much of your checklist in terms of potential projects you would take on changed after being part of Pirates?
I mean, I wish it would have. Do you understand? Like, I wish it would have elevated me to a place where they're just, oh man, we're in the Lee Arenberg business. I would have been
maybe not necessarily that, but
maybe
like
that. It doesn't work like that. But it works like that for very few in the biz, right? So the key thing is when I landed Once Upon a Time, I mean, I couldn't get a gig after Pirates.
Sure.
And it wasn't because I was being choosy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just the way it works. It's just like your career kind of goes like a wave a little bit.
Yeah.
And it's learning how to be happy while you're regaining your strength for the next turn of the tour. Yeah. I mean, honestly, it made me famous.
Sure.
Which is never a bad thing, but it really doesn't pay the rent.
Sure.
Okay. So it might get you invited now with the Comic Cons and the signings and getting to meet and greet the people, do cameos. That it does help. And I'm so grateful to my fans every time they book a birthday shout out or they come for an autograph. And you know, you're going to always get a good conversation with me, and I'm going to care because I do about my audience. I heard Johnny actually taught me this phrase at one of the Pirates premieres. The premieres for Pirates were the world's longest red carpets.
Yeah.
So you want to be nice to every journalist. They've come a long way. They come from around the world. So you're doing 2, 3, 4 hours straight of this.
Yeah.
Getting pulled handler photos. It's a pretty, I mean, it's awesome experience. But you need to be present, relaxed, and up for it. Yeah. And Johnny was the king.
Oh yeah.
So I just basically, excuse me, can you help me on this one? And how do you fucking do it, motherfucker?
Yeah.
He goes, because the fans are the boss.
Sure.
And what a beautiful way to say it.
Yeah.
You know, we work together, but ultimately I have a job because of these beautiful people.
Exactly.
And it's over 20 years where that's my number one, make sure I connect that out there. Energy. And it changes everything. Then whatever happens, bud. Yeah. I got Once Upon a Time. That was 7 amazing years to play Grumpy with some of the most talented actors and, you know, a life experience and a whole new fan base. And the fact that people are blown away that Pintel is grumpy and they're disappointed that they didn't know that.
Yeah.
The coolest thing. That says I'm good at
Yeah,
what I do. That I
exactly.
get pride in that, and it's an honor. I mean, I've lived my dream, and the older
Sure.
I get, um, the more I focus daily to be thankful
Sure.
and just as hungry. And I might even be working harder on it
Yeah.
because I'm letting go of all the stuff that doesn't matter that I've cared about for so
Sure.
long. You know,
Yeah.
that's the real lesson.
Well, you're only as good as your last scene or your last performance to an extent. So you want to
Actually,
keep
you're
trying
only
to
as good as your next.
next. So you
Yeah.
gotta so you gotta make sure.
Stay. Oh, yeah. You're only as good as your next one, right? The past is done. You can't
Yeah.
change that. And this is also what I love and why my number one goal was always film. And TV was stigmatized when I got in the game.
Sure.
TV has now risen in excellence by
Sure.
far because of streaming.
Yeah.
So and I'm not going to say that the cinematic stuff is downgraded in quality, but it probably has
Sure.
because the long form ability of television now for storytelling better unfold more. There's more. You have more creativity when you
Yeah.
have 8 hours to tell your story,
Sure.
if there's enough of a story
Yeah.
there. Um, so, but it's forever, dude.
Yeah.
Theater is magic because you got to do it over and over and
Yeah.
over.
And in the
You
moment.
don't feel it. It's all moment to moment. Um, and that audience that came and paid their money on that rainy night to be in that theater, they deserve the show
Sure.
just as much as the Saturday night Full House, they're sitting in the
Yeah.
aisles show. So that's very challenging. But film, you got one shot at it.
Yeah.
That camera's on you. Then maybe you get 2, 3 takes. On a big movie, you might not even get more than one,
Sure.
depending on what's going on and how important you are in the scene. One time just to go like give a look and give your attitude. Now
Well,
they'll probably cover you for the whole scene, so theoretically you're not just going to have to hit them unless it's supposed to be like that.
yeah.
You might be able to listen for the whole scene and find the moment organically, but
Sure.
sometimes you just gotta fucking give the face.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it
Well,
never matters. Check this out. I'll let you go. You have
yeah.
great questions too, but they're getting me going. It never matters what the actor thinks. It only matters what the audience thinks the actor thinks.
Sure. For you, and as I mentioned, you've been doing this for quite a while. As I said, some of the actors that you grew up with since when both were still in high school,
Yeah.
still acting, still doing stuff, regardless of the medium. For
Mhm.
you, looking back, and of course, you're still going to keep doing it until they push you in a wheelchair. I'm sure. So for you, at the end of the day, whether it be the acting legacy in terms of what you leave behind with your craft or your personal what you leave behind, what do you hope it is for future generations to look back on what you were able to accomplish?
Hmm. You know what? I'll be honest. Being a good dude is a slower reverberation around the universe, but I would go for some of that. I think it's our job to live. The Stoics say you're already dead, so live every day.
Sure.
Um, and again, I would turn that over to the audience. I mean, as an actor, I'd love my legacy to be that I was a baller. Yeah, that I love doing it, that the ability to bring laughter and belly laughs out there is pretty neat.
Sure.
Be able to bring a tear if you get the opportunity,
Yeah.
be vulnerable in front of the camera. It's intense to do it. I love doing it. So it's about sharing, man.
Sure.
I'll take any of that as a
Yeah.
legacy. And I love, I mean, to me, even your words here about really um they hit me in a real positive way that makes me feel good, bro. Like you get, that job done in terms of that. And that's very important too, as the artist, to
Yeah.
get that little satisfaction as you go. It's like mountain climbing.
Yeah.
Or climbing pyramids. That I use the pyramids of Mexico City outside for the example, because they are very steep, and then they have a plateau, and then they go steep. And each generation of the Aztec was responsible for building a layer on their pyramid, right? So and the career is like that. You go up, 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 and then they're sort of plateaued out there. And then you just got to take advantage of your next chance.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I want to, before we enter today, again, thank you so much, Lee, for doing this. I want to end on a little game called the One Word Challenge. So what entails with this is that I'll throw out a few names of people, places, or things, and you have to do your best to say a word or two that comes to mind when you hear it. So if you're ready, I'll begin.
Ready.
First one, California.
Home.
Shipwreck Cove.
Want to go back.
Hard work.
It's the most important.
Success.
Measured by inner peace.
Acting.
My passion.
The Raiders.
My blood.
Johnny Depp.
A real hero of mine.
And last but certainly never least in this cosmic universe well called Earth, Lee Arenberg.
Just another fucked up human.
But what beautiful craft you've been able to accomplish, good sir. Thank you again. I know I've said it a few times, but thank you again for doing this. I know you're a busy man, so this is a real treat for a man who grew up.
Well, I want to tell you something.
Yeah.
You got a future in this business. You treat your subject with a real care. You did your homework. I'm stoked I did this with you, bro. And I wish you nothing but the best going forward.
Well, it means a lot. Thank you. Now, I know with the actor strike ending and back to work in terms of certain stuff. So if you have anything coming up or things that are out that you just completed, certainly this is a time for you if you want to plug it out there.
I mean, really, I haven't been working for a while. The last kind of cool project, I got some projects in Europe, hopefully that'll come through, some film work. One in Italy that I'm hoping gets funded. And I will next kind of like, I have this great film I did called Bloody Fury that I did with Bill Nighy, Kev McNally doing voices. Marty Club is in it. For my French film family. Jordan and Constant, who I recommend, go see his other work. He's done some great fanfics of Star Wars, of pirates. I mean, very creative force, and a guy that I love as a brother, and this young director that did this French Western. So find Bloody Fury. It's pretty cool. It's a sexy cowboy show.
Sure.
And yeah, man, I stay hopeful and grateful.
Now, where can people find you online in terms of social media, if you have any at all?
Just under my name. I mean, I'm pretty much mostly on the gram these days, Instagram or Facebook, as Lee Arenberg. I mean, you can find me on X. I haven't really been doing anything on X. I'm not really into X. Sure. I miss my bird.
I think we all do. Yeah.
I miss my bird, but I'm still there. Not really checking, but lately I've just been posting a lot of sunsets because it's been killer.
Well, in California, what's better than that?
Well, and honestly, bro, I live outside LA now, about an hour and a half north, right on the beach. It's a great place for my son. The most important things for me are supporting his rock and roll dreams and, walking my dog and helping my wife, being of service. I mean, honestly, when I started doing that, putting myself at batting cleanup, changed my shit, man.
Well, it makes you more grateful of what you have in life. Now, all those out there, if you enjoy this, because who the hell would? And down the line, when this wonderful person, not just a wonderful actor, but a wonderful person gets the next greatest role of his life and gets inducted into some sort of LA Acting Hall of Fame, you can say, holy shit, I so subscribe. So subscribe, comment, share, all that fun jazz. Following X or Twitter, wherever the hell you want to call it, Nolan Carr at Night Show. Nolan Carr at Night, in the words of Johnny Carson, the dean of talk shows, certainly like this one. I bid you all a heartfelt good night. Till next time when we speak again.